Welcome to Sports Guys for the week of, what is this, December 16th. I'm joined by, at the far end, Rod Callaghan, wearing a Michigan State Santa Claus hat, which I didn't know that Santa Claus was a Spartan, but I guess maybe he was. And then comes Chuck Hiller, and then next to me is Micheline Larson, who is certainly no stranger to Alegria Village Community Television. She does her Meet the Village segment, interview segment, and she is part of this show every week. But you usually don't see her out there in resident land because she's on the other side of the glass here in the control room. My name is Brian Rogers. We're going to talk about the Detroit Lions game over the weekend, but I want to throw it over to Micheline because there's a sport that we've never reported on Sports Guys before, and it's rodeo. And Micheline has just returned from a trip to Texas, as you might have guessed by her garb. And she attended a rodeo and is going to talk about some of the events that you'd find in a rodeo and some of the history of rodeo and stuff. So Micheline, where was this rodeo that you attended?
Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the hat.
You
It's
can
been
do
here for
that.
dramatic effect, but I have to see what I'm doing.
Well.
Okay, I went down over Thanksgiving to visit my son and his family, who live in Fort Worth, Texas, and that's what got me down there. But the story evolves from there. If you're flying into Texas, there's two main airports, the one in Houston to the east, and then Dallas-Fort Worth. And this is an important distinction for this story to be told. Dallas is known, of course, despite the TV program, as a Western town, but it's really a very sophisticated business community, much more like New York City. And, the home of Neiman Marcus, all of that.
Okay.
You take US 30 down the road, another 20, 30 miles, and you come to Fort Worth, Texas. And that is Cowtown. And I'm not kidding, that's what the residents call it, Cowtown.
Really?
There are acres and acres of undeveloped land within the limits.
I was not aware of that distinction between
Yes,
the two.
yes, and the developers really want to get in there and develop that. The residents don't want it. Leave Cowtown alone.
Yeah.
So that's what that is all
Do you
about.
think that Cowtown attracts tourists just because it is Cowtown?
It's probably the most visited site after the Alamo.
Okay, okay.
Really. It's amazing what there is there. And to make it clear, we've got to go back to 1876, because that's when the railroad were beginning to develop. And there was a railroad head right in Fort Worth. And so what happened, the cattle were coming in, and processing centers, they bought, sold, slaughtered, and then packed and sent out meat. And by 1907, they were selling like 1 million cattle a year.
Million head a year.
Million head a year, yes. And it went on quite well up until about the 1950s, but then other centers were developing. And so there wasn't that much activity, some, but not as much as there was before. So what happens to this area? Well, it became mainly an entertainment and shopping venue, and the rodeo came.
Yeah.
And so that's basically the history story
Yeah.
about how this came to be developed.
When would the rodeo have come?
Well, in 1907,
Okay,
they broke down the ground for the Cowtown Coliseum. See, that's the formal name of the place.
So this is the venue of the radio.
Right.
Radio.
Yeah.
Rodeo.
Yeah. Well, the Coliseum was finished in 1908, and the economy, it was about $6 million, and these thousands of cattle and all of these things. But in 1918, it became the world's first indoor Rodeo.
Oh, okay.
And the other interesting thing is it goes all year long. It does not have an individual.
Yeah, that surprised
And
me.
Yeah, it's
that
very-
they could draw that many people.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
they do
So
that.
you're talking about 24 or 365 days a year.
I don't know if it's quite that
Yeah.
many. I saw for Wednesday afternoon, and then I saw the Saturday evening. And I
Okay.
think there's definitely Friday because
Yeah.
of this. When we get to the scoring, some of the scoring for Saturday was dependent upon Friday. But anyway, so over here, their formal statement is, rodeo is a competitive sport involving a series of riding and roping contests derived from the working skills of the American cowboy.
Okay.
And there are basically two categories, timed events and rough stock events. And so that is the history of the rodeo. Now here I am, this Michigander, sitting in the stadium there. I was over where the people came out. The animals were coming out from both ends, depending upon what was going on. Started at the far end of the Coliseum opening ceremony. A rider comes out carrying the American flag. And all of the music starts up and the singer, I forget the artist's name, the current thing. God bless the USA,
okay,
that.
okay,
And the
yeah.
music is starting to making your skin tingle, and the riders going round and round the Coliseum. And then as the vocalist starts going faster and faster, the horse starts going faster and faster and faster. Before you know it, the whole crowd is yelling
Yeah,
and screaming.
yeah.
It was the most patriotic thing I have ever sat
yeah,
through,
yeah.
including Pass and Review,
Yeah, yeah.
And it was amazing. And then he stops dead center in the middle, and then there was what, everyone please rise. And then that was the national anthem. So they spent a good 6 to 8 minutes on this opening
Yeah,
ceremony.
yeah.
And as I say, it was extremely, really inspirational.
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
liked it. People were yelling and applauding all around me. So that took us, and then the events began. There are a number of events. I think I'll go through the individual events.
Yeah, I'd
when-
like to
Yeah.
hear what some of those are.
Right, but one event here I think I'll talk about right now because, there's the bucking broncs and all of this, but it's how do I enter my child in the calf or mutton scramble? Because at various times during the rodeo, with these high-powered events going on, all of a sudden scads of kids come running out onto the field, little ones between 4 and 8 years old, and then they let the lamb go, and the lamb's got a purple ribbon around its neck. And the child that can get the ribbon first comes back and gets a prize, takes a little bow, And this is a really big deal. And you have to have your parent there. You
Yeah.
have to show up at 6:30, sign up and sign a waiver.
Oh, no doubt.
All of that. So there's a little bit of something for everyone, which makes it just a great deal of fun. Okay, now I was taking notes furiously throughout here are my notes. And you'll notice the very small print, so I'm going to have to put my glasses on for this.
Well, we're used to having people with glasses on. So.
I will want to discuss the scoring. I was kind of, the event starting, and they already got a first place listed on the top because they have the big screen there. But he ran yesterday. It was somebody from yesterday. So talking to people and everything, there's money involved, the championships, big money. But it isn't, you don't get anything for that individual showing at that specific rodeo. It's a cumulative number during what would be a season. Now, I don't know if it's a
Okay.
number of weeks, months, or it's a spring
Yeah.
season.
It's months and it ends in Las Vegas for the big event.
For the super big event. Okay, but here we go on. We have what is called the down roping event. That's when they let the calf go and they lasso him. You've seen it in all the westerns. Tie its feet and they go wee, and then someone runs in and frees the calf immediately. Well, in this particular event for that evening, Mr. Matthews won, Mathis. I couldn't read my own writing, so on some of these I don't have the first name. Or I don't
Well,
know
that's
Anyway,
quite all right,
he won with 14.31 points. So that it comes down to
so
those
that's the
minutes.
number of seconds that it took him to.
No, this is points, not
Okay,
seconds.
okay.
That's seconds. So that one was points. And then the breakaway calf event, there were 9 contestants in that, and that was a woman's event. They try to rope the calf, but they let go of the rope immediately.
Yeah.
They do not get
And-
down and
Okay,
flip it over.
okay.
So
It
that's
was on
one.
TV last night,
Yeah.
by the way.
Oh, okay.
I saw it.
And then that was a Miss Churchill, and that was in 2.99 seconds. And I have to backtrack. I think here, Mr. Matthews, that was seconds, not points.
Okay.
Yeah, because
okay.
you rope the calf and
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
So I have a typo error there anyway. Then we got into the more interesting events. I have the saddle bronking contest. You know, you got a saddle, and you know the horse is doing all these
Yeah.
gyrations, and you must stay on for at least 8 seconds in order to get any points.
That's right.
And then they have someone to help you get off. But the important thing is the points. So Jace Angus came in with the top score for that evening. I don't know his placing in the finals, but with 83.5 points. And then there was the ladies' barrel racing event. These are large barrels, people, not little barrels like for wine or something. These are huge barrels, and there's 3 of them. One, 2, and 3. And they come whipping around them, and the horses are leaning, just like you
Yeah,
see in all those
yeah.
fancy pictures. And they're not supposed to knock down any of the barrels. Well, 3 of the ladies did a good job of rocking the barrel, not necessarily, but then you don't get points for that. And a lady, Davy King, she came in with 18.83 points for that. Now, this next event is the one that just drove me a little bit Fruit Loopy. Bareback bronc riding.
yeah.
There is no saddle. You hang on with one rope and one rope only, and you're on a bucking bronc. And you take your left arm, grab this arm, because when you're thrown all over the place, you don't want to break this arm. So you're stabilizing
So
the joint
that's-
here.
okay.
But I'm not kidding. I don't mean to be gross, but it's legs up in the air as you're flying
Yeah.
up and down and halfway off and halfway like this. And I'm sitting there thinking, these people are out of their collective minds. You know, why are you doing this? I really can't understand it all. But they do that, and that's that bareback bronc riding. And the top score for that evening was 79.5.
That's not too high.
And that, well, I don't know if this is early on in the competition or not. See, I don't know how long it runs. And maybe their stars aren't as good as the ones somewhere else. There's all sorts of possibilities, right?
Did they have any bullfighting?
Well, we're getting to that.
Oh, yeah.
I
They
got
do
2
have,
things
yeah.
on that. And then there was some team roping. They go out with 2 people to take care of the poor calf and all of that. That wasn't a high interest one. But Cody Lehner won with his partner, and that was 6 points. Then we got to the bull riding. And that's 7 contestants. Yes, it's a big bull. Yes, you must stay on for the required 8 seconds, but it's the number of points that you get that is the important factor. And there were 7 contestants that evening, and Jesse Petrie won with only 4.02 points. So you'd have to be part of this for some time to figure this out. Now, someone asked me about the clowns. Yes, they do have clowns at the rodeo, but they're kind of safety people.
Mm-hmm.
They're totally safety people.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us what you?
Well, they are totally safety people, and there is one clown in one of the barrels, too, unless they change that. But there's always been a clown in a barrel.
And I did not see that.
Yeah.
These did not
But they
appear.
are safety. They are trained. They're the people that when somebody goes down, they are right there, not to maybe take care of him right away, but to get that bull and get him out of the way.
To
Because
distract the bull.
They
It is-
Absolutely.
try to
distracted.
distract the bull.
And they, in turn, they're putting themselves out too, because once in a while that bull will turn
Yeah.
a horn towards them.
Yeah.
So they do wear flak things underneath.
Right.
But it is quite the event.
Yeah.
Quite the event. That 4.2 is really low. I'm surprised.
Well, I'll check my master files because see,
but I'm saying
everything
that-
is
that night,
handwritten.
it could have been a night when all the animals said, "Baloney, I'm not gonna act up that much."
They
Remember,
could.
half of that count is how that bull, how high did it jump? Did it jump straight up? Did it kick to the right? Did it kick to the left?
That's interesting because one gentleman who was on the bull, they didn't stop it, but they said it was an unsatisfactory bull, and they were going to give him an opportunity
he
to
gets
ride
to
at
do it
another
again another
other
way.
time.
Yep.
But he did not do it in that session, so evidently
Okay,
it would be
he's
the
gonna
next
pick it up
day
on the next
or
one
something.
then.
I'm glad you brought that up
Yeah.
because the bull is very much a part of this,
Right.
and watching the rider trying to avoid the bull's horns to get the man off the bull is also. But with my eyes, between the bull and the bareback broncos, that flipping around, it was so much more active even than the bulls. But yet that bull's a big bugger,
But when they get off of one, they even have problems.
Yeah.
They jump and then they almost fall all the
Right.
time. But of course, that is
Yes.
soft ground underneath. But
When the-
it still hurts.
The rider can't hold the person unless he's very few times does the bull rider actually flip over so he can stay on his rescuer's horse. They, as you say, they just kind of slip down to the ground. But I'm amazed these people all just stand up. I don't know if they have a rubber layer or what. Now, there's one other last event I'd like to talk about, but it wasn't at the Saturday night performance.
Could I just ask
Yeah, sure.
one question? Do you know if they use the same animals for successive rodeos?
Yes,
or
they
do.
do.
They get, okay.
I have a sure-tail relative who
Yeah.
owns the animals. It is
Ah.
I mean, it's a big industry. They run about 20 of them as they go along.
And they raise the animals specifically to
there.
be
Yes,
okay.
It is a big industry just to have that, and they are paid extremely well for these animals. Now they don't. The animals. I don't know if they mention all the time the name of the bull. Did they do that, or did they do it by numbers at yours? Actually,
I don't recall.
but it's by numbers that these things are, and they're guarded all the time. Primarily because one, if somebody slips something into the animal
I would
to
imagine
slow it
that
down,
would be a factor.
we got a
yeah,
problem.
Yeah.
And these animals, from little things on, they know if they're going to, what event they could do. Some are fast, some will do something and then will jump a particular way. And they know all of this. But the carting of them all over, the sure-tail relative I have does the Canadian one, which starts, let's see, in May, and they'll hit all Medicine Hat, and then they'll hit Calgary, then they go down and do the whole thing. But did you know that there is a college course where the kids can go if you want to be a rider?
Really?
They have college courses.
Would they be Western colleges, I imagine?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Southwestern
yeah,
colleges?
Yeah. But this is a full-time thing. This is a profession.
Oh,
It
yes.
isn't fun. It started out centuries ago, probably, as just fun on Saturday to do something.
Well, yeah, as Micheline pointed out, it was to be just to enhance the skills
But boy,
that
it has
cowboys
grown
would
into
have.
a
Yeah.
what an industry.
When we lived in El Paso, we
Okay,
used
so-
to go across the border there into Mexico, and every week they'd have bullfighting, and the stadium was jammed,
Yes.
and it was different every time, and there were certain animals that they would highlight and attract because they were particularly
That's it.
active and mean, the matadors would be all dressed up, and it was quite
Matador,
exciting.
that's a good entry here for it.
Well,
Yes,
okay, there,
yes, a
there's
perfect.
your cue word,
Yeah, so-
Michael.
It isn't even a segue. I'm not
Okay.
chasing, I'm adding on. There was one event that they did not have on Saturday night. It is a Wednesday afternoon event, and it is called Ultimate Bullfighting. And I'm just going to plain read this so I don't miss anything important here. Ultimate bullfighting is an adrenaline-fueled, high-intensity rodeo sport that showcases the agility and daring of skilled athletes. Unlike a traditional bullfighting, Spain, that sort of stuff, where the goal is to avoid the bull's horn, freestyle bullfighting emphasizes close quarters maneuvering and choreographed evasion. Competitors showcase their athleticism by performing acrobatic leaps, spins, and rapid changes in direction, all while evading the bull's
That would be
charges.
something.
See, so
I'd
the
love
bull
to see
charges,
that.
yeah.
But I'd
It is a thrill spectacle that requires a unique blend of courage, agility, and quick thinking as the bullfighters aim to outwit the bull in the arena.
That
Wow.
is something.
That kind of wraps it up.
For
doesn't it?
the rodeo.
Yeah, yeah.
The
But I-
ones we saw, they literally killed the bull.
Yeah.
They
Well-
they had
Only in
swords,
Mexico, though. Not
and
Yeah.
they were out there waving their red
Red
flag
flag.
and trying
Sticking
to
'em
kill
in the
it,
neck.
and then they'd cut the ears off and
No,
give 'em
that
to a
doesn't happen here.
matador, and-
No, not in America.
And I know the
Can't do it in America.
it's the Society for the Prevention of Animals would eat
Yeah,
you
yeah, the
alive
cruelty.
if
Well,
you
there's-
did that as a sport.
Yeah.
As a sport, it's a
Well,
no-no.
there's that PETA organization, too.
Yeah,
People
well-
for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They would
Absolutely.
probably prevent
Yeah.
any animal from being harmed
Right.
in any way.
Now, I want to kind of draw it out to the
Yeah.
conclusion here. The stockyards in itself is the tourist site. That is 98 acres of fun and things to do. It is a hot spot for young people. As it gets dark, the young people come pouring into, because there's the clubs, the music, and the food. The eating in the stockyards is like nothing else you will
Would
ever.
it be primarily meat in the stockyard? I
Well-
know that's a dumb question, but
Yes.
I wanted to know.
Our favorite place, a place called Cooper's. And you've never seen anything like it. You come in, and it just looks like part of someone's kitchen, and there's a fella there with a big tray with a sheet of paper on it, and looks at you, and what do you have? Well, there's all this meat here, and he just starts putting it on this huge tray. They have like jalapeno sausage, the brisket that looked like it to die for, and beef ribs. Beef ribs, they serve, they're this thick and about that high.
Wow.
And then pork chops. They got the whole loin, and they chop them off for you.
yeah.
And it isn't cheap, I won't tell you that, but it's just so good. And then he gives you the tray, and you go to the cash to get it weighed. And then you're charged on how
so
much
you're
it weighs.
charged by the weight of the meat.
And then you
Yeah.
go past, and you got a chip for that, and then you go up, and then there's the coleslaws, the potato salads, anything
Oh.
else you might possibly want, and even bagged potato chips, should you want them.
Yeah.
Never. But anyway, and then you go to the final cashier where you pull out your magic blue card and hand it to them. And depending on how many people you have, it could be a very expensive venture. And you don't have individual tables. This is Cowtown.
Yeah,
It's like church tables, but there's no break. They just go and go and go and go and go. And again, no plates,
Like
just a
a
sheet of paper, of waxed
School
paper.
cafeteria.
Yes, excellent. But everyone talks to each other. It's like everybody knows each other, and it's just a great day. You could spend a whole day in the stockyards, and we go at least once every time we're there. And Cooper's is a must. I must go to Cooper's to eat.
Now, do they offer alcoholic beverages?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
But this is not at the rodeo. This is a restaurant.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
That's what I was
there's a
just
restaurant,
wondering if
yeah.
they did.
Oh, Texas is not dry. Come on.
Well, no, well, it's just,
I don't know if the laws changed. That was one place where you could have an open bottle right in the car, and you wouldn't get.
well, what got me is the gun and all the pickups at,
On
you're
the gun rack.
driving and
Yeah, you
the
could
gun
see
is
it.
right behind you.
And you could
all
see
of
it.
them have them. It blew my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Is the clientele at these restaurants primarily tourists or
No,
local people?
I would say locals.
Okay.
We may have looked like tourists
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we weren't properly dressed, not
But
casual.
your son
and,
lives there,
yeah.
so you would.
Yeah.
He would.
And
yeah.
everybody has these cowboy
yeah.
boots. You
Oh,
got to
I
buy
thought those are-
Cavendish
Yeah,
boots.
those are really
Uh,
neat.
Cavendish has about 6 stores where they sell nothing but cowboy boots, and they have a nice section for women. But then there's a room full of men's boots. So the men's are buy mainly, but the ladies like to get a different color. Well, you got any red ones in?
Oh, okay.
I have a dear friend down there, and she has about 3-4 different pairs of the cowboy boots. But they're extremely comfortable. I bought these last year on the trip, Dan, and I had to wear them at the plane coming home because you couldn't get them in the suitcase. So going back this time, I wore them down and then had to wear them back up again because
Do
what they
have
charge.
high heels.
Well,
Yeah, they got
that's to
one in-
catch the stirrup when you're riding.
Yeah,
The heels
yeah.
to catch the stirrup.
Yeah, those, I know those boots are very functionally made
Mm-hmm.
because of the use to which a cowboy would put them. Mm-hmm. There used to be Afternoon Kitty's cowboy show with a guy named Justice Colt in Detroit, but I remember him talking about the functionality of boots and why they're made the way they are.
Right, they're extremely comfortable. They're all leather, and I understand that at Cavendish's, they're always different because they're individually made.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
any of you wonder what you pay for a price of these were $165.
Yeah.
Just so you have some idea. And now the fella who runs the shoe repair shop on Schaefer and just south of Michigan says you can actually buy boots cheaper online than buying them down in Texas. I don't know if the quality is anything
Yeah.
near
Could
the
be
same.
the same thing.
Yeah, could be the same.
The markup has got
Yeah,
to be something.
there's Cavenders though, if you know them by a trade name. So,
Did you notice one thing, that you were treated differently? Ladies down there, when we would walk into a place, a person would get up who was eating there, get up and open the door for my wife to enter.
Oh.
Did you notice that? Is that gone?
I don't know because there were gentlemen in our group, so I didn't have to worry about
Yeah.
the door opening.
That blew my mind, that
Yeah.
somebody would get up from eating to open the door for my wife to
The,
walk into
would
a
be a-
restaurant.
A restaurant patron, you mean, rather than a staff member?
That's right, that's right.
Well,
It
even
blew my mind.
well, if that happens in other places, you owe only 2 minutes. You might want to talk about the Lions.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can tell-
Oh,
I don't have a trivia question today, except what was the score of the Lions game yesterday? Well, it was 48-42, and the Lions lost. It was their second loss of the season, and I had heard a prediction last week that the game between the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills played this past Sunday would be a high-scoring game, and each team would achieve a score in the 40s, and that's exactly what
Isn't that
it turned
crazy
out
that
to
it
be.
That's
really-
interesting because I saw another talk show yesterday that claimed that it was going to be a very low-scoring game.
Yeah, well,
well, 1-1 or
Because
1 loss?
both of them had good defenses.
Well, we didn't
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah.
well, as I've said often on this show, you have to play the game. You can't just talk about it. You have to play the game in order to know how it turns out.
You have to know how to tackle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Jared Goff yesterday, the Lions quarterback, did not have the good protection he's had in other games, and I almost thought I was watching the Lions in the Matthew Stafford quarterback days,
Yeah.
with the number of times Goff got sacked. I think it was probably 5 or 6 times at least.
Did you see him on the sideline looking at his pad? and he got so angry that he smashed it over his knee.
Jared Goff did?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I did not.
Yeah, it was quite something. I wish people had noticed that.
Did
he
he
was
break
that
it?
angry
Yeah.
about things not happening. He took that thing and went boom right over his.
Well, sometimes he was hit almost at the same time he released the ball, and
Yeah.
I wondered how he even got the ball as close
They
as
knew
he
what
did.
they were doing. The other team knew what they
And
were
there was at least one time he was sacked on two successive plays. Okay, we have to go. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to Micheline for sharing her trip with us. And we'll go out with Micheline wearing
Howdy.
yeah. So this is our last show for 2024. We will see you again. I think it's January 6th of 2025, and we hope you have a very pleasant holiday season. And sayonara for now.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you.